All right, good morning, everyone. A warm welcome from beautiful Berlin once again. Very excited to welcome all of you to the third session of our monthly webinar series, the 2025 Customer Loyalty Playbook, Retention in the Age of AI. The series normally happens on the second Thursday of every month, unless it's a public holiday like we had last week. The focus of this series is on delivering you all actionable insights on how to leverage AI and conversational commerce for measurable retention outcomes. We're going to have some experts from our team joining as well as a very special guest as well, and you'll get a chance at the end to ask all of your questions live. Still seeing quite a few people trickling in, which is great. So let's get them a couple more minutes and I'll just go over some housekeeping rules. So this session today is titled Beyond Chatbots, Exploring the Power of AI Agents on WhatsApp. We're going to be taking a detailed look at the new AI agents that Charles just launched recently, as well as giving you kind of a live demo or showing in detail kind of the under the hood how it works a bit and how to set them up. And then we'll be hearing from our very special guest, Irene Zietmeyer, on how Junglück has been using their AI agents to do some really fun stuff. Today, the event will be around 50 to 60 minutes in total, as it usually is. The talk will be between like 35 to 45 minutes, and at the end, we'll have an interactive Q&A session. And in case you do want to ask a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and I'll be picking all of the best questions there that we can answer at the end. If you do that, please set the setting to everyone and not just the panelists, so that the rest of the audience can also see the questions. We are recording this webinar, so if you do need to leave early, that's completely fine. But I definitely recommend that you stay until the end so you can participate in the question and answer section. So to start off, once again, I am Ben. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Charles. Been part of the team since the beginning of this year. And I'm very happy to be joined by our special guest, Irene Zietmeyer from our partner Junglück, and Jendrik Hooft, VP of AI Growth at Charles. Very nice to see you both. Would you like to introduce yourself? Let's kick it off with Irene.
Yes, hi Ben. Hi everybody. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. A few words about me. I work as a CRM manager at Junglück for 1.5 years now, but I think in total I can count a bit more than 6 years into my CRM journey. I took over the WhatsApp channel at Junglück when I started working here. And together with the lovely Charles team, I had the deep dive into the AI agents the last weeks, which I'm super happy to talk about in a bit.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Jendrik. As Ben already introduced me, VP of AI Growth. So sit exactly on the intersection between product, commercial, and engineering teams to bring live what we have been working on. Before joining Charles, I spent the last couple of years together with my team building various types of conversational AI experiences, mostly for big global enterprise brands. And when we joined Charles at the beginning of the year, was okay, how can we bring that to even more customers, to even more verticals? And so super excited that we're rolling this out now. And yeah, welcome also from my side.
Super exciting. Thank you both. To kick us off here, I would love to hear a bit from you, Jendrik, about how the event OMR went last week. You were there with some other people from the Charles team as well, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like for those who might have also been there, it was the most yellow booth I think that you could find on the whole venue. We launched our AI agents technically in person, but it was like basically an ability for everyone coming around, test them out, talk to us about it. And yeah, you could get your little stress balls or have a coffee made by our little coffee agents. So yeah, it was really nice to see that, but also like the type of conversations when you hear what are the problems that you're trying to solve, what is on everybody's mind when it comes to applying AI also at scale, right? AI that drives business results, not just, hey, I have this one initiative, I need to do it AI for the sake of AI, but really specific interests, specific questions. So was very excited for all the conversations that me, but also the whole team had there.
Yeah, super exciting. Heard really good things from everyone. Yeah, so let's dive in. So let's start with what's the big deal here about AI agents on WhatsApp? Why is that exciting?
I think ultimately it combines two, in a way, mega things for brands to look out for right now, right? On the one hand, we see behavior shifting more and more towards messaging, and we also know Gen AI is on everyone's mind. But of course, bringing all of these things together is often much easier said than done. I think like you all know that, so there's probably nothing new, but many of the old channels are broken to a degree, or they're much harder to turn profitable, right? Ads get blocked, apps get deleted, notifications get turned off, emails often go unopened. So also we as humans are looking for ways to engage much differently also with brands in the same way like we do with our friends and family. And I think this is something interestingly, right? Like the shift to business communication, that's nothing new, right? Like back in 2016, 17, chatbots were like the big hype and everybody was saying, yeah, that's the future of communication and so on. And this business communication is just continuing to grow. By now, that's 600 million messages that are being exchanged every day between businesses and users on the Meta family of apps. And at the same time, now things become possible that we only dreamed of back in 2016, 2017 with the applications of generative AI technology, where all of us, first in our tech bubble, but also more as we grow out in the marketing world, all of these other cases, people are learning how to apply new technology and using that. And as we are learning these interaction patterns, we also realize that that's another way for us to start exploration, to do shopping, to do comparison, but also generally have different and much higher expectations when communicating also with businesses.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. I think we all saw this new addition of Meta AI into the WhatsApp app itself. How do you think that's impacting things?
I think it's only going to accelerate. I think it's not only WhatsApp, it's also Instagram and Facebook. Basically, Meta rolled out their Meta AI to their whole family of apps. And what that means is now they're putting the capabilities of generative AI into the hands of every one of their users. And what that means is basically what we've seen so far is just going to get bigger. Everyone is starting to play around with it. Everybody's learning how to use it and also maybe exploring new technology. But of course, it also raises a big question like how can businesses stay ahead and also what can they do to meet these new customer expectations? And I think that is really, in a way, like the way how it's also evolving, right? Like initially we had like scripted journeys, scripted flow, very little AI usage. And I think there's also like a very beneficial part to it. Like if a, I don't know, like a scripted decision tree is offering me exactly the type of response that I'm looking for, I'm more than happy to click it. I'm more than happy to go there, right? It's much faster than typing. But of course, oftentimes the decision trees are very limited in the way how they can help me. And so chatbots started to emerge, and chatbots were really meant there based on natural language processing, often really AI to understand the different user intents. But now we're at a point where this is like going one step further, where AI is not only there to understand, but really AI is there to take action, right? The move from chatbots to AI agent, which serve your needs, your purpose, and really help you as a consumer, help you get to the outcome that you're looking for, but at the same time also for you as a brand, for you as a business to also help you drive the business results and take action. And I think interestingly, we oftentimes thought about, okay, like AI as a strategy, or what is your strategy around that? And I think one big misconception is always that there's not a button that I have under the table that I can just press and say, okay, AI is switched on. And also that's also not the way how it should be, right? And also AI itself should not be the strategy. And I think what we set out to do is to make sure that what we're building serves a particular business need. And it's not just like AI for the sake of AI because it's just en vogue right now, because ultimately it needs to drive results. And I think that's also really important. So that AI in itself is not a strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And so what was kind of our solution to this at Charles in light of all these things?
I think we're combining two things that are incredibly powerful. On the one hand is this interactivity of messaging that we get inherently from channels like WhatsApp, but also Instagram Direct and also Facebook Messenger. That's like really the place where we spend the most time with our friends and family. That's where we also are used to having a different form of bi-directional communication. And we combine that with the capabilities of generative AI, but not in a way of, okay, we just plug into a big like ChatGPT wrapper basically, but in a way that caters generative AI and like also mold it to your need. What we call it brand safe AI agents, which is a set of highly specialized features that allow you to speak to your customers on the platforms they use every day, right? To use AI agents with a specific purpose. At the end, they have like one use case focus, because that leads then also to free up your time specifically for human agents when we think of service cases, to really have this white glove services approach for the cases that require a little bit more care, and also then really utilize agents for automation and scale. And I think with that, we're like super excited to be launching also in this round now the Charles AI Agent Squad. It's a set of highly specialized agents where each and every one of them has a particular use case focus. Of course, there's much that is happening under the hood and more capabilities that are bundled together in one of these agents. But it's true that I would say, Dominic, we're also going to look through all of them now in a second. But on the one hand, we have support, which is an agent that is specialized for automating FAQs and also service requests to really help you, and I would say, deflect recurring questions and also free up time of your human agents. And on the other hand, Recco, which is recommending products, helping you find the right products in the moment when you need consultation as a user. And then lastly, it's Experta, which is like your agent for whatever you need, is basically an ability to mold all the capabilities that are under the hood of the others in completely new ways and enable different use cases. And I think for us, like that is like kind of like really inherent that from our overarching conversational marketing platform to say we want to serve customers alongside their full customer journey, right? When we think of combining interactivity of messaging with generative AI capabilities, we think of that as alongside the whole customer journey, from the initial phase of attraction to conversion, and then utilizing the threat persistence that messaging offers us so that we can also retain customers and consistently also re-engage them. And I think the two agents, the product finder and FAQ agents, are just placed right at the middle of that, but that's only the beginning. We will both scale them horizontally, so alongside the whole customer journey, as well as also making their capabilities even deeper and more profound, and consistently are also adding more capabilities to make them in itself more powerful.
Super exciting. Could you tell us a bit more details about support, the FAQ agent?
Yes, very, very much so, yeah. So basically, in all cases, right, I mentioned that at the beginning, AI agents need to drive a business result. And one of them is, of course, you need to drive automation, or you want to drive automation. You want to deflect ticket volume, and you want to free up time of your human agents to increase customer satisfaction scores, to speed up ticket response time, right? Because this agent is always available to you, even outside of your office hours, even if you reach out on the weekend and so on. There's always something there for you and your brand to help your customers. And what you do ultimately, you connect your knowledge base, and then the agent figures out, okay, it goes through like various steps of basically validating that the information is in your knowledge base, combining information, packaging in a way that answers that, and also keeps the user memory very similar to what we are all used from working with ChatGPT, but in a way that is really brand safe and makes sure that only the information are present and checked that you decide you want to answer. And I think we have here one of the cases, one of our private beta customers. Irene is also one of them with Junglück, but there were others that joined us in the private beta phase, where we really started playing like rolling out different agents. And Bayer & Söhne is one of them that uses AI agents for product consultation and also FAQ automation. It's more not so much yet on the product recommendation side, but really, as you can see when you read through the screen, I would just like translate it for those who not speak German, but it's basically asking about capabilities of the agent, of the products, what they would recommend for a certain skincare routine. And you can really go into that and help them also in that moment of consultation and moment of need. Maybe if people don't know how to apply products, that can be really used also on a more detailed and sophisticated level.
Very exciting. How about the product finder agent Recco here?
Exactly, the other side of the medal, right? Like if you think of, okay, how can I automate my user interactions? How can I scale one-to-one conversations? One side is service requests, we just talked about that, but the other one is product inquiries, product consultation. And here Recco comes into play. It's basically your agent, think of it like your sales agent inside of WhatsApp. It's someone that helps you through your consultation journey, through the journey of figuring out, okay, what is the next thing that I want to buy to handle your different objections. And in order to do that, we plug into your existing product catalogs, your shop systems, get the data. We're going to go a little bit into detail into the data handling in a second, but also here go through a layer of steps of capabilities to ensure that we get the right products, we find it, we understand the user, we guide them also through this process of finding the right products, but at the same time also ensuring that we reduce hallucinations and make sure that we only answer what we want to answer. Because ultimately, if generally now you have also ChatGPT announcing that you will be able to do, for example, shopping directly into the experience. But that doesn't help you as a brand. There's no spot reserved for you that you will be presented there. There's no spot for you that is helping you shape your brand and the way how you want to present it. And that's exactly where Recco comes in and really drives this type of product discovery and product recommendation. And here we work together with Anita Haas, which is like a fashion company, high fashion company, where you can really go in for product recommendation. And let's say you go for, like, you want to go for a wedding in Italy. And here really drives you through this process of finding the dresses for you, really asking and refining the questions. Say, okay, you want to have something yellow or you want to have something more festive. You can define like all these different properties on the lengths and everything. So there's like various steps that you can control this journey, but ultimately have a way for your customers to come in at any point in time and really be helped with navigating the product catalog and really finding the perfectly fitting example for that.
Very cool. And we have one more, right? Experta.
Correct. Yeah, I think like Experte is in one. I mentioned that, right? It allows you to combine all these different capabilities in completely new ways, and I think that sounds like the catch-all kind of agent, and in a way it is that, but of course it still has to be very use case specific and very much tied to a business goal. And for example, we've been working with Volkswagen on that, and also other big brands where the capabilities are a little bit different or like a bit more combined, I think, than what we have seen also for the other cases. So the way how Volkswagen leverages that is that you can really do any type of objection handling. So it's about like electronic vehicles, where it's about like, okay, what is the range around it? But you can also explore the whole car models, everything. And for that, we expanded the knowledge base in a much more granular fashion so that you can ask, okay, what are the capabilities of the Polo to kind of compare that, right? Because ultimately, what you want for every agent is to give them a very specific set of knowledge that is tied to your brand. And in that context, you want to make sure that you give the best possible answer. So we see here, for example, some of the queries, so you can really go into it and compare it, or you can ask, hey, I don't know, I'm looking for a car to take me and my family to the beach on the weekend. If you're lucky enough to live close by, I mean, that's will be a far ride from Berlin, but at least that is something that you can really go in there. Or like here, see comparison on different models.
Super exciting. Could you take us now kind of through a deeper dive of how these agents work in Charles?
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. I think ultimately for us, there's various aspects that are critical when we think about agents and also in the way how we set up agents. So in the next couple of slides, I will walk you through when to trigger agents, what the agent should know, how the agent should talk, and also how can you ensure that it's going to be successful? Because ultimately that ties back to the initial part. We want to make sure that it drives business results. But let's start with number one, when the agent talks. Ultimately, what you want as a brand is you want to control the customer journey as much as possible. And with that, when you're already thinking about applying different conversational experiences and different journeys, you want to combine scripted and generative journeys. You want to ensure that the agent gets triggered at the right point in time. You can combine multiple agents as well. Come back to that in a second. But you also want to make sure that you always offer your customer an ability to talk to a human when they feel, okay, you keep the human in loop. They can take over if they have a follow-up question that you want to handle more on a manual and white glove service basis, but you can really control the whole customer journey for that. And I think the beauty also of these multiple agents at the same time, that sounds always very trivial, but below the system is a fully agentic system that basically controls the workflow. So with every incoming message, um, we have a head agent system that then decides to whom to route the conversation. So think of it in a way that you have like all your specialists, all your sales agents, and all your people in one place. And depending on the question, you just hand off the microphone to a different person, to a different agent in that case, to answer the question based on their specialists and capabilities. And I think here we have a view also on how setting up the agent looks like. And we combine two things. I mentioned that at the beginning, right? Here you see in the center right, like this Charles AI agent node. So all of you who are already familiar with the Charles interface will recognize this as the conversational flow builder that allows you really to build all of these experiences. And now the Charles AI agents plug right into that. So it's a very familiar interface. You can really combine all the benefits of a flow chart with what you see is what you get, no code interface of building these conversational journeys, trigger the agents at the right point in time. But not only that, you can now really route the users through different experiences. So you can set up different splits in the way how you want to route users to some. You can do A/B tests. You can make sure that certain customer segments get access first or handled differently. So all of these logical routings with also capturing the different data points and utilizing them can be set up here, right? And when you look also to the right-hand side of the screenshot, you see that you can really also handle the aftercare very nicely, right? So after you had the AI agent node, you can make sure, hey, how did you like the response? Did I answer your question, right? You can measure customer satisfaction scores. You can make sure, okay, if you need an escalation, I mentioned the human in the loop, right? That all happens inside here where you combine scripted with generated flows in the interface that you're already used to. And at the same time, and I think that's also the beauty of bringing together interactivity of messaging with generative AI capabilities, is that you can really utilize the rich media messages and rich message formats that the channel offers. So here we're setting up the product finder agent, and you can say, okay, you're utilizing the marketing templates from WhatsApp in order to present your product results in the best possible way. Here we would have a carousel where you can basically plug in the AI generated message, which you have seen also in the screencast before, which caters exactly the results that are shown to your query to really pick it up and offer an additional layer of consultation beyond just a simple carousel of here's what I found and that's the products, but say, hey, okay, for your celebration in Italy, I think this type of dress is the perfect one because it's flowy and it looks very elegant. So you can really tie that, and that's like where you want to leverage, and that's where also the feeling of personalization can also be maximized. Okay, let's come to the second point. I mentioned, okay, one step is when the agent talks. The second one is what the agent knows. And I think that's a very important and crucial and important topic, because you want to do two things. When you think of brand safe agents, you want to make sure that they're highly specialized for your brand and for your data. And that means you need to control what it knows and refine that. So I mentioned we plug into your existing shop system. Shopify here, for example, it's really plug and play. If you have already your shop system connected in the product catalog in the Charles platform, you can just easily pull it in, and then you're ready to go. It basically utilizes all these your different categories, metadata, the way how you've set up your shop system in a way, and uses them also for the recommendation part. On top of that, we utilize AI to also enrich the structured metadata of your feed, because we know, of course, everybody knows good data is really important, and better data leads to better results. I'm going to come back to that in a second with Irene later, so I don't want to talk too much about that. But of course, that is something that we can also help you with. For example, if you have like a very rich description field where you expand on different care instructions on the materials of your product, or you kind of like expand on the occasion where your product can be used, then this is something that we're extracting and putting into these different meta fields. The reason why we do that is because it allows us to combine multiple steps inside of the product finder agent to go through filtering and recommendations, re-ranking, semantic search. So there's multiple steps that are happening in between to really allow you to cater your experience in that way. Because ultimately what you want to ensure is that you get the most accurate information. And for that, we're using a retrieval augmented generation architecture, RAG for short, which allows you really to only provide a subset of data for your AI agents to go through. Then should I answer the questions now, or do you want to go through them at the end?
Let's go through them at the end. But
Okay.
that's a good point to mention. If you guys have questions, please feel free again to send them in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end.
Yeah, Henry, I come back to your question then at the end. Okay, we talked about two steps of setting up the agents. We talked about when the agent should talk and also what the agent should know, right? Like what the agent should know, think of it as like your sales agent that also needs training on their first day at the work. That's very similar to the AI agent. And also now the third thing is like how the agent should talk, right? And that's very similar to your sales agent that you have on the floor, or everybody else who's joining your brand for the first day and who's doing communication, right? You're spending so much money on your brand, on the way, on your guidelines and copywriting guidelines. And let's basically think of your agent as just another extension to your team. But of course, for that, you need to have the capabilities to configure the personality. But also, when we think of personality, there is an element of tone of voice, like how do I sound as an agent? So we offer these controls that allow you to really adjust the tonality of the agent. But at the same time, you can also really go in and refine the personality that it really appears in the way how you want to do it. You can have like long brand guidelines that we consume into like very small, you start small and then you iterate once you go through that process of really making sure that this agent talks like your brand. And if we look now here, for example, in the example, here the agent was even given a name, right? It's like the extension of your team. It's like the BS Mark III that was helping customers directly help them, right? It's friendly, it's engaging, it's knowledgeable, right? You can really craft a whole personality persona around the agent. You provide example text, and all of these gets used and packaged together. Once you have retrieved the information, it gets then turned into an extension of your brand and like really talks like it's part of your team. And then last point, I mentioned that before, right? Driving business result is critical. So understanding also, is the agent working well? Is it driving the output that I wanted to? And so there's two elements to that. On the one hand, there is a dashboard that allows you to measure exactly, okay, what type of business results is it driving, right? What's on the bottom line? How much resolution rates do I have, but also how much click outside, how much order volume am I driving, right? Is it impacting the business line? Is it deflecting ticket volume? Is it helping with customer satisfaction scores and so on? So like, is it accepted by the customers? But because it's good that we show at the beginning that we are convinced that users have new expectations of messaging and generative AI combined. But at the end of the day, we still need to prove that, and that's also what the agents set out to do. Is that okay? Is it accepted by your customers? Is it used, and is it also driving the necessary business need? Because again, that's not AI for the sake of AI, but is really determined for making particular use cases successful. And so when we look at this, monitoring the agent performance has a quantitative element to it, but it of course also has a qualitative element to it that we're not showing here on the screens. But of course, you need to be able to monitor all the different interactions, like not only from like data compliance standpoint, but also generally from a qualitative standpoint to see how are your users, your customers engaging with the agent. So there's other tools and interfaces that allow you also to zoom in there and really understand what the agent is saying and what the agent is doing. And I think for us, and that will also like wrap up a little bit this initial part, is we are super excited for this moment because we've been working and rolling out like big conversational experiences for global brands, for many companies, and now we make that available to all. So like going also out of the private beta in and around OMR and making that available so that you can also utilize that. It's on a almost plug and play basis, but I think to understand a bit better, okay, what was easy, what was different than expected, there's more to come later.
Super exciting stuff. And thanks for the detailed breakdown there. I think that brings us to the next part of our time here with our special guest, Irene. So Irene, could you tell everyone to start a little bit about Junglück?
Sure. So we are a German skincare brand based and founded in Munich. We create cosmetics that are good for every skin with effective ingredients on a predominantly natural basis. Every product is created in our own laboratory in Munich and is produced in Germany. And what is important to point out is our guiding principle, which is we want you to know what's good for you. So we think you should be familiar with something as close to you as cosmetics. There are questions like what is right for you, what makes you feel best, what works and how, and why all that. That's maybe quite important for later for the recommendation. So yeah, with every product that the customer should that the customer is buying, the customer should not only get to know us better, but also themselves and their skin.
Absolutely, very cool. And as you are one of the private beta clients for these new Charles AI agents, As you came into that, what were the specific challenges that you were hoping to solve with AI agents?
Yeah, let's split that maybe up into this two main agent types that Charles providing. So as I said, we're selling a product that maybe needs a bit more guidance. Customers come with a need, but not everyone, or maybe just very few people already know what is good for their skin or how to solve a skin issue. So we saw a big advantage in having an AI agent guiding our customers through our products to give them the solution for their product or for their problem or for their need, and maybe even educate them a bit about the whole skincare topic and what is generally speaking good for your skin. So, which is of course important then later to sell a product. And for the support agent, we see, or we thought it could reduce the basic questions, which can be solved by usually a one-answer conversation, also what Jendrik said before already. So this could help speed up the support process and make the customer satisfied even more with our service. I mean, we have a really good customer care team, but this could lead to a quicker satisfaction on customer side, and on the other side, more time for more complex customer requests in our service team. So yeah, both sounded very helpful and promising for internal processes, but also for customer satisfaction.
Super exciting to hear. And how do you see these AI agents kind of fitting into your broader omni-channel strategy?
With WhatsApp and the AI integration, I think we make a big step towards real-time communication or conversations when we compare it to newsletter or to our ticketing system on the customer support department. Also thinking about the loyalty and the community thought being so close with like WhatsApp as a channel, we see the big advantage of this approachability or accessibility. And of course, maybe I should have pointed that out in the beginning, this more individual guidance and this personalization, which is really important for us, for our skincare, so that the customer gets the right product.
Yeah, I think that we see that's like a really compelling point for other clients as well. Just this idea
Yes.
of like AI agents being able to give a personal touch to every customer, even when you might not have the resources to have a customer support team to tackle every question as fast as possible. This can really kind of bridge the gap there. Coming back to this slide, like what were some of the challenges that you experienced when you were setting this up, and how did you overcome them?
Maybe like the challenge firstly was, I think on my side, that it was the first time working this closely with an AI setup. So to understand what is needed maybe, but also like when we speak about what is needed, I would say feeding the AI with the data that it needs. It was a bit, let's call it challenging in the beginning to find the right way to provide the data to the agent, and like what data do we have? How does it need to be? So maybe that was firstly a little challenge to understand how the agent is working, how the data needs to be provided, that it speaks in the way that we want it to speak.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And how did you go about preparing that product data and knowledge base?
So for the FAQ agent, as I already said, we have a really good customer success team. So they are prepared with frequently asked questions, and they have macros and usual answers for that. So that was quite helpful, because then we had all this frequently asked questions data already, and we could just set it up and filled it in our FAQ data sheet, which you need to then upload to the agent. So that was quite helpful. Of course, there was a lot of work on finding the tone, and also adjusting maybe the answers so that the agent can really work with it, so that it finds the answers to the questions that are coming in. So the first time we had a lot of testing and fine-tuning, typical trial and error process, I would say, in close exchange with the Charles team. And for the recommendation agent, I would say it's super important, or it was super important to have the relevant information and the product data in your shop system. So on this point, we work very closely with our shop team, and of course with on the technical setup side a lot with Charles, luckily. But you also here you need to know what information does the agent need to answer the potential questions, or to recommend the fitting product. And therefore you need to know what information your product sheets provide and how you can use it. Is everything for every product set, or do you need to adjust? Is every information or data also there? In the end, it is made of fields, or you can even use tags, but you need to have that all provided and well sorted.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of like aligning the AI agent with your brand voice and your company's kind of overall brand, how much customization did you need to do to match that?
I think Jendrik showed it also already before. This setup here was super, super helpful. And I think defining the brand voice, or finding how you want to let it sound, was literally quite easy with this setup. This is really, really cool. If we talk about how or what products we would recommend and we want to let the agent recommend, this was not done by one click or here and there. So we need to had some test chats and then adjust again our data. So this was more a process that we just tested, and so it was quite easy. But here you needed a bit more like time to adjust everything. And then for example, in our process, we found out that maybe we need a little chit chat agent that we also set up then, and then it made it sound more human already and was more in our brand voice.
Very cool. And I'm going to jump to the next slide about the results quick, and then ask you what's next after that. Could we talk a bit about like the results that you're seeing already?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we are seeing an 80% completion rate in this agent flow, which is quite good, I would say. So we're happy that we also can mostly see clean conversation. The customers are accepting it. That also says our opt-out rate for the last month, it did not increase. In fact, it did shrink a bit, but maybe that's just a seasonal thing. But it really is very accepted by the customers. We also got already the information that the numbers of service tickets via WhatsApp is reduced. So there are less service tickets for the more basic ones that I already said before. And of course, we see for the recommendation agent that first orders are coming in through that product recommendations, which is quite nice to see.
Very exciting. So what do you see as kind of the next step for your WhatsApp strategy?
I mean, we are still in the beginning somehow of this new project where we currently have a big focus on. So we want to have, this means we are actually currently always evaluating, learning and adjusting with the goal to have soon an agent which we can even promote bigger in our shop or other channels or through WhatsApp itself. So we want to gather more data. We want to have more information and insights how this works and how it is received by our customers. Yet it looks quite good, but still we need a bit more data and information. And I would say that's our current focus. But beyond this, WhatsApp is in general an exciting channel for automated communication via journeys or the recurring messages. And also that brings us closer to our customers, and also the customers closer to you. So therefore, it stays a fundamental and equivalent channel to our marketing mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. And so last question here. How do you see AI continuing to play a role in your customer communications going forward?
AI in general, our customer care team is currently also working on a solution for our ticketing system, so to go also there a step further to the 24/7 service solution, which can be interesting. We'd hope to see a development of the usage of AI for predictive use cases in customer journey events, for example. And yeah, like Jendrik said before, when he talked about this, AI is not a strategy. I want to just mention here, we think it's a tool, it's not a solution, but it can be a very, very fun and helpful tool. So yeah, I'm excited what's next.
Very exciting. Thank you so much, Irene. Really appreciate your time and your insights and giving us a bit of a look at what you guys have been doing there. Very exciting. So now let's jump over to questions. I think we had some in the chat. Yeah, so first question, I think to you, Jendrik. Can you add additional data sources other than your Shopify? For example, if you have a product information management system with additional information per product.
Yeah, so basically there's ultimately the agents are set up in a way to be able to consume an array of different knowledge bases. The shop system is, of course, the number one thing to do. And then you could also pair different knowledge bases, right? FAQ is one. You can have also different catalogs that you want to amend to it. But of course, it always depends specifically on the product information management system that you're using and also to the degree how you want to use it, right? But you could think of, for example, maybe you're enriching it with customer reviews or maybe more detailed descriptions that you want to use. This doesn't like it's not plug and play. It depends a little bit on what system you have there, but more than happy if you have like a specific questions, a specific system in mind. If you want to reach out via email after that, happy to look into that also to answer. Wait, there is a follow-up. Oh yeah. So that basically is something happy to expand a little bit more than also via email, but generally the agents are capable of handling multiple knowledge bases and then combining the information to a coherent answer.
Very cool. Yeah, and did you see the follow-up about connecting your own internal RAG?
We basically, the agents are completely LLM agnostic. So we can plug into different models inside there. And theoretically, also the agents are also able to, I don't know, I would say welcome external agents. Let me put it that way, because you've seen now multiple agents as part of the squad. But I think also the integrations of the future will also work alongside different agents interacting with each other, right? And I think that is like if you have something that is already battle tested and approved by legal, that is something that can be plugged in. I think it's always a question on the edges, how the handoff and also how the integration works, because even by implementing your own internal RAG system, the question then becomes, okay, how do you design the answers that are met and made also for the interactivity of WhatsApp. So I would say that's not something that works plug and play, but also happy to explore that. But also on the approved by legal part, I think, of course, that is something that is highly relevant and of course on everyone's mind, right? Like data security compliance and also going through the approval steps with legal, especially when it comes to generative AI technology, is a step to go through. But from our experience with scaling global brands, we also been through a lot of legal and compliance teams to get this ready. So I think that is something that we can also apply and also applying with the technology that we have in place.
Yeah, super exciting. I think it's kind of also an important point, like as you mentioned, it doesn't have to be Shopify all the time. We have the capability to kind of work with different data sets and kind of do some custom things there as well.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, let's jump to the next question. Which languages are available for the AI support?
I maybe we can split the question. I start and then I would hand off to Irene maybe because like we've seen that live. But ultimately what we shouldn't forget, right? Like even though we build our own generative AI application, it still relies on all the training data of the LLMs. So it has the knowledge of all the languages, and of course, especially commonly spoken languages are all available out of the box. Of course, if it's like a very niche dialect in some regions, it might not be able to detect it, but for all common ones, it's completely available out of the box. There's no need to do it, and usually the agent responds to the language that the user asks. But maybe, Irene, I know you had like a nice experience there also in the testing phase.
Some anecdotes. Yeah. No, one was a really good example. There was a customer writing in Dutch. We did not think of that before, because for us WhatsApp is just rolled out in Germany, but of course there are other languages spoken, right? But so it answered perfectly in Dutch even without us setting it up, so that was quite good. And I think the question was handled really well, the request. And the little anecdote was that there was a conversation in German, but the customer then said something like, okay, perfect, and had this little emoji, and then our agent just answered in perfect Italian that it's super happy to help. So it is really adaptive to the language that you're writing.
Very exciting. We'll jump to the next one. Is the AI support available for all customers of Charles, or is it depending on the account?
I'm not exactly sure what is meant with the account, but basically everyone that comes into your experience and your chat, you can control who sees it, right? Like we've seen in the initial screen, like the routing logic that you can set up. You can let it trigger only at specific parts on the flow, but you can also basically set up catch all triggers so that it is available to all. So you can combine these two things so that you either only show it to a particular subsegment of your customers via custom properties or like segmentation of your audience, or you make it available to all, or you have different agents for different purposes. So I meant for us customers also have a chat. Yeah, it is. It is available to all accounts on Charts. Please reach out to your CSM so that we can set it up for you and like basically also walk you through the steps. But it's not enabled by default, basically, because it requires additional steps to go through there.
Perfect.
So, yeah, so it's available for all in that case. Sorry for expanding. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. Another question here. Is there a possibility to implement the AI agents with a custom shop system? And if yes, will the AI agents be able to access order data or just product data and information from the Q&A?
That is a great question. The answer is yes, we can implement other shop systems than just Shopify. We can also implement like static URL, like dynamic URLs with like different CSV data to just pull in the different knowledge bases. But you're alluding to exactly the part that will have to edit on top of it, because like when we integrate into a shop system, we have order data already matched to it, and so we're able to also associate the different orders to the agent for proper revenue attribution. But at the same time, we can also import the order data. That's something that the team is currently rolling out so that you can then basically also have custom shop systems where your order data might even sit in a different system and import them in order to be able to have proper revenue attribution.
Very cool. I think I have a question.
I think there's one in the Q&A section that Nele asked earlier, like how long does it take to set up and train the agent?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe I think maybe Irene, I would hand it off to you. I mean, maybe you can. How long did it take? Yeah, maybe you can walk us through that a bit.
I mean, we first started with the FAQ agent because that was quicker to set up, because you need that sheet. You like, I don't know, but I think it's for everyone. You need that sheet where you have that maybe some keywords and also all the information that the agent should have to answer a question. If you are prepared quite well by your customer success team or whatever, frequently asked questions and answers, then I think this is set up very quickly. Maybe the first quick or setup was done in a few days. But then there's always this testing phase, this trial and error. Test your chat, how does it respond, and then you adjust something. So this is an ongoing process, I would say. But the first setup is, I would say, done in a few days. Also, this personalization, as Jendrik showed before, is in the settings of Charles super easy to adjust. So this is quite fun, actually, and it's done super, super quick. For the recommendation, we needed a bit more time because also it was in a beta phase, right? There was also some stuff done by Charles to get the right data from us, information, what do we need? So this exchange lasted a bit longer, but also, I mean, we started talking, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 months ago, and now we are 1 month already live. So it was quite quick for that it's also a beta phase. It was not all set there. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe to also expand on that a little bit, what we also see from other clients. Generally, you can be live actually in a matter of hours if your data
Yeah.
is prepared and ready. But as Irene said, right, like the testing and the improvements and that you want to do and testing it, that usually depends a little bit on your organization, how fast your feedback cycles are. Sometimes also you have compliance that wants to have a test on it or review that. It depends a little bit on your setup, but I would say generally we are really confident to get you live in 2 weeks and 4 weeks, depending on your like. Oftentimes it's more like the massaging the data or exposing the fields, because you realize that maybe your shop system, you show products that are only samples or that are only available to your store in Munich. So you need to expand, I know, meta fields that you exclude them, or you want to boost your best sellers, right? You realize when you get the results that you want to mold the experience, right? Where technically it's working and it's also behaving really nice, but you want to get this extra percentage of quality, and that then takes another week or two. But generally it's really fast, actually. It works. If your data is ready, within days.
Yeah, super exciting. Okay, I think I'm gonna call the last call for questions while I have one of my own, which is what agent are we planning to build next here, Charles?
That's a great question. I think for us, I mentioned it earlier, right? We think of it expanding it horizontally, our agent squads, and also vertically, as in a way of like making them even more capable. And I think when we think of the capabilities that we're adding to the agents, we want to add more and more information to the flow so that you can really go deep into follow-up questions, to also integrate to a degree into order systems and shop systems, to maybe get an update on your shop's requests, and specifically so that you can have like deeper levels of product consultation, right? We've seen like the initial steps now, but that you can really guide the users like on this, I think, also educational journey. Next things that is coming is like a purchase intent score that determines at which point is which message is shown, right? Because like if you really want to go into the capabilities of interactivity of messaging, then you also sometimes you want to have a text message with just an image, or sometimes there's a cursor because they're more in the exploratory phase. Then you handling, okay, comparing two products, you go back to a text message, like more flexibility there on an overarching level. And when we think of it like horizontally, like expanding the agents and their capabilities, abandoned cart is the next one that is on the radar. So like hyper personalized follow-up messages for abandoned cart events, so that you can then pair generative AI capabilities with the options to reach out to your customers at the perfect point in time. I would say that these are the ones for the next 4 to 8 weeks, I would say, like maybe even a bit faster. But yeah, super excited for what's to come. And yeah, and then of course I always see like it's great to hear like feedbacks and ideas from clients, from prospects. And I think at this point it's also really shaping the roadmap, which I love personally, because it creates like turnarounds and like you see the satisfaction. And I think everyone like switching on the agent for the first time, maybe Irene, that's maybe my last question to you at this point, is a very magical thing, right? It's maybe a bit scary, but how was that for you the first day saying we go live?
Yeah, actually, as you just said, it was a bit scary, but we had this, for us, it was super important to not go full 100% live. So we had that 30% trial or like test group. But then when it's live and you see what's coming in and that the customers interact with it, and it's super cool. Like, it's so nice to see that this works and that the customers also accept it and like it and are satisfied and with an answer in seconds. So yeah,
Super exciting.
exciting.
Yeah, I love to hear. Cool. I think that is going to wrap things up for us today. I'll go to the final slide here. If you would like to try out these two AI agents for yourself, you're welcome to do so with these QR codes. You can take a screenshot if you want, make sure that you get it captured there, but I'll also include the links to these in the email that will be coming out later today for you guys. Yeah, and as I mentioned, don't forget to join us for our next webinar, which will be on June 12th next month. And since you've already signed up for this webinar series, you can just join at the same link next month. So thank you all so much. Thank you to our panelists. Super happy to have you here, and have a great rest of your Thursday, everyone.
Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Irene. Bye bye.